Mission 3 in every Sonic Adventure 2 level is find the Lost Chao. Somewhere hidden on the level there's a Lost Chao that you have to find. The Chao is usually not on the main path, however. It's in an area that you'll need one of these statues to access. These do nothing until you get the Mystic Melody upgrade, which will allow you to interact with them. They might spawn platforms or springs or even portals that will take you to areas that you otherwise can't access. And while this concept is simple enough, I always found it kind of weird that there's an entire upgrade in this statue mechanic specifically just for the Lost Chao missions. A lot of you watching might not even know these are a thing, since you at no point ever need the Mystic Melody for the main game, only for the Lost Chao and then maybe a handful of the hard mode missions. So that prompted the idea for today's video. Can we find a way to rescue all of the Lost Chao without ever using the Mystic Melody? We'll have to use other glitches or out of bounds clips or other creative solutions to rescue all of the Chao. If you guys are new to my channel, my name's Epic Dusk and I make tons of challenge videos for this game, as well as many other GameCube classics, so make sure you subscribe if you like stuff like this. We kick off our challenge as always with City Escape. The Lost Chao can be found after you run down the giant wall. This statue would normally spawn a spring which Sonic can use to access a series of swinging bars and spring robots to climb to the top. But by spin dashing toward the wall and immediately using the bounce bracelet, we can do a speedrunning trick called a super bounce, which lets us jump very high in the air, so we can easily get up here without that Mystic Melody. So that's one Lost Chao found, and our challenge is off to a great start. The next level is Wild Canyon. The Lost Chao here is in a room that we can access by breaking these metal boxes and then digging through the painting. Inside here, there's another statue which, if we play the Mystic Melody, will open the door. Inside that room is another statue which, again, if we play the melody, spawns a portal, which brings us to a third room where we will find the Lost Chao. Now this one seems impossible since this is a completely separate room, but this video wouldn't exist if there wasn't a way. What we have to do is glitch Knuckles behind this statue. We do this by pause buffering, which is just spamming the pause menu over and over again so we can make very small adjustments to our movement. Once we're behind the statue, we can fly out of bounds and we can make our way to that room with the Lost Chao, which is just floating off in the distance. Lucky for us, most walls in this game only have collision on the side the player is intended to be on, so if we go through the wall from the opposite side, we can clip right through and then grab the Chao. Prison Lane is up next. The Lost Chao here can be found in the room behind this door. We can jump to the side and reach a platform with the statue that spawns a spring that will bounce us to the higher platform. There we just have to defeat the enemies to open the door with the Lost Chao. Now getting up here without that spring is going to be tricky because the mech characters have the most limited mobility, but we can still do this by progressing through the level as normal until we get to this area here with the caged animal. Turn around and from here we can jump to this platform with the rocket, which would free the animal, and then with a jump and a hover we can go around to that top platform without ever needing the Mystic Melody spring. From here we just kill the enemies and collect the Lost Chao. We're 3 for 3 now, so far so good, and Metal Harbor is next. This Chao can be found after where you obtain the light speed dash. On the runway before taking the next trail of rings, to the left there's these little nooks, and if we bounce up to this one we'll find the statue. Playing the Mystic Melody here will spawn some platforms that we can use to jump across to the Lost Chao. But we can also simply spin dash and jump all the way across without them, making this our easiest Lost Chao so far. The Green Forest Lost Chao can be found in this area after all these springs. All we have to do is jump off to the left and play the Mystic Melody, which gives us some platforms that'll take us high enough to get to the floating platform with the Lost Chao. But just like in Metal Harbor, a simple spin dash and jump off this ramp does the trick. And just like that, we have another Lost Chao with no Mystic Melody. Next up is everybody's favorite Knuckles level, Pumpkin Hill. We find the statue on top of the Pumpkin Mountain, and if we play the melody, it will spawn platforms that we can use to get to this faraway area where the Lost Chao is. This area is too far away to simply just glide to, but sometimes you have to take a step backwards before moving forwards. And in this case, if we go a little bit lower on the Pumpkin Mountain, we'll find this spring which bounces us high enough to glide across and get to the Lost Chao with no Mystic Melody required. Mission Street is next, and we can find the statue by jumping around to the left of these floating platforms. Playing the melody here spawns a portal which spawns us on top of this roof, where we can hover across to some more cylinders where we'll find the Lost Chao. But we can get on top of this roof without the portal by using a trick called pause buffer jumping. This is a trick that Tails and Eggman can use to get more height out of a jump by using the hover as soon as we jump, and the pause buffer is what helps us with that timing. See here how Eggman isn't able to jump on top of these boxes normally, but if we pause buffer jump, we can get just enough height to make it on top. In this scenario though, we'll need to combine that with a running start off these rails, and then we can make it onto the top. From there, we just jump across the cylinders like normal, and then grab our Lost Chao. Now we'll take a dive into Aquatic Mine, and this one's pretty tricky. To get the Lost Chao here, we need to use the Mystic Melody in the upper room to open this door. That gives us access to the ghost room while the water level is still high. Then we can swim up this hole, make our way down the hall, and then up a pulley where we'll find the Lost Chao. Normally, to get into the ghost room, we'll have to lower the water level to move this floating platform, but if we do that, the water won't be in this room, and there's no way to jump up through that hole leading to the Lost Chao. So what we have to do now is go underwater through the tunnel to the left at spawn, and make our way to where the deep pit is. If we swim up into this corner, we can clip out of bounds. Once we're out and the camera catches up to us, we swim to the right and then glide to where the water ends. We can fly right into the ghost room while the water is still up, and then from there, we can just grab the Chao like we normally would. Hidden Base is up next. The Lost Chao is in this room behind this door, which the Mystic Melody would normally open. Instead, what we have to do is pause buffer jump to make it to this platform with all the bomb monkeys. Then we'll do another pause buffer jump to get on top of this platform that we would normally shoot down. The fun thing about mech stages is the developers were really confident you would not be going off the intended trail since the mech characters have such limited mobility compared to the other characters. So they didn't bother making a lot of this stuff solid, and we could just jump on top of this pillar here and then clip through the top. This is tricky though because if we land in the sand, we'll die, so we have to carefully navigate out of bounds and come in from behind this statue where we can stand on solid ground. Then after some careful jumps to the pulley, we can go up and find the Lost Chao. Now it's time for Pyramid Cave. This level actually has 2 Mystic Melody statues, but the second one after this ramp is what leads us to the Chao by spawning a spring which gets us up onto the roof. And then from here we have a timer that opens a door on the other side of this gap, and we'll need to use these swinging bars to get across. Using the super bounce trick we did back in City Escape, we can actually bounce up here and then stand on an invisible floor right before jumping down to the roof and proceeding as normal. And if you have skill issues and you can't make it across the swinging bars in time, we can even use a super bounce on the other side to get on top of this roof and then get to the Lost Chao without even opening that door. Death Chamber is next, and we find this Lost Chao by playing the Mystic Melody at this statue in the center room. This opens up a door to the underwater area where we hit a timer and swim down this hallway. Then we hit another timer in the next room and find the Lost Chao in this little window before the door closes. We can easily get to this room without the Mystic Melody by clipping out of bounds by flying into this green door. Man, this game has a lot of really easy out of bounds clips. That's probably how all these Chao got lost in the first place. Now we got Eternal Engine, which had me nervous at first because going into this challenge, I was convinced that it would be a Tails or an Eggman level that's going to stop us. But we're doing very well so far. The statue on this level spawns platforms that help us get onto this elevator, which will take us to an alternate path where we have to navigate through to get to the Lost Chao. Getting on this elevator without the Mystic Melody platforms is pretty tricky. We'll have to do a pause buffer jump with the running start off this very narrow rail which Tails can barely stand on. This took several tries, and thank God for save states because otherwise this would have taken 20 hours if I had to replay the level every time I died. Eventually I did manage to pull it off, and I made it to the elevator with a perfect pause buffer jump, and from there we just go down the path normally to get to the Lost Chao. Now it's time for Meteor Herd, and this is where we hit a bit of a hurdle for our challenge. The Lost Chao can be found by playing the Mystic Melody statue on top of the Ark. This spawns a series of portals that will take us to the Lost Chao. These portals are inside these containers, which we can get to from the outside, but there's no way to clip inside of these, or at least not on the modern versions of this game. I did a little research, and it turns out on the original Dreamcast version of the game, you actually can clip inside these by flying into them at the right spot. I tried for an hour to do this on a modern Steam version of the game, but was not successful. So technically, this is still possible, at least on the Dreamcast version of the game, and I think that counts. If you think this doesn't count, go ahead and cry about it in the comments. And a big thank you to Irregular for uploading this video showing off this glitch. Now it's time for Crazy Gadget, and we had to get really creative with this one. The Lost Chao is in the end in the room with all the colored platforms and gravity switches. Right at the end of that segment, we can put the gravity to normal and then walk all the way around the purple platform to find the statue, which spawns a trail of rings that puts us on top of the red platform where we find the Lost Chao. Now getting this Chao without the melody is pretty tricky. We'll play through the gravity room like we normally do until we hit this gravity switch on the yellow platform. Now we need to use this spring to get on top of the blue platform, which is a lot harder than it looks. Again, thank God for save states because this would have taken hours without them. Once we're on the blue platform, we can spin dash and land on the edge of the red platform. Then we line ourselves up using these black dents in the lights to get ourselves directly in front of the Chao, and then carefully walk off the edge and fall into the Lost Chao before hitting the death barrier. And our last hero story level is Final Rush. The Lost Chao is toward the end of the level right before this checkpoint. Turn back and walk down the path and you'll find the statue which spawns some platforms leading to a rail. Grind up that rail and we'll find another statue that spawns a trail of rings which leads to a section of floating rails that we can jump through to reach this rail in the wall. And just as a side note, I have absolutely no idea how you're intended to grind on this and make it up there. I always use the bounce bracelet, but please, somebody tell me, how do you do this in the comments? I can never figure this out. Now that first rail is easy enough to jump to without the Mystic Melody. The real challenge is getting to these floating rails without the second statue. And it's a bit tricky, but what we can do is grind on this orange rail, making sure to crouch so we have enough speed. But right as we're about to hit the turn, we need to stop crouching and let go of the control stick and do a jump. That way we'll get an actual normal jump and not a rail hop. If we time it all right, we'll jump right onto that platform before the floating rails, skipping both of the Mystic Melody statues. And with that, we've officially rescued every hero story Chao without ever using the Mystic Melody. But that's only half the game, and now we have the dark side story. And this very first level is honestly the craziest in the entire run. We find the Lost Chao about halfway through, using this first Mystic Melody statue to spawn some platforms, which will get us to this pulley. That pulley takes us to the next room, which is a huge open area, and around the right side, there's another statue that'll spawn more platforms for us to get to the top and find the Lost Chao. Now, this one looked hopeless. I tried to find a way out of bounds from earlier in the level, since I know from previous challenges, Iron Gate's a pretty vertical level, but I couldn't find any way out with Eggman. And there's no way he can get up to this platform without the Mystic Melody. I mean, it's not like Eggman can just run up walls, right? Yeah, this game never ceases to amaze me. This trick is called a wall run. Speedrunners will use this trick with Sonic in Green Forest. By getting a character to jump from a specific angle, it basically tricks the game into thinking that the wall is the floor. Well, it turns out Eggman can do this too, by jumping on the corner of this pipe. The timing is very difficult. I seriously tried this for like an hour, and I got some close attempts, but I couldn't successfully do it myself. So shout out to speedrunner KD4 for uploading this video proving that it's possible. And with that, Dark Story is off to an amazing start. Radical Highway is doomed to fail after that. I mean, honestly, how do you follow up Eggman running up a wall like that? It makes this spin dash jump look like absolutely nothing, which, you know, to be fair, it really isn't hard to skip the Mystic Melody on this one. Dry Lagoon is next, and before you nerds run to the comments to actually me, I am now realizing as I'm writing this script that I've recorded the levels out of order, and technically this level should have been after Iron Gate, but I'm too lazy to fix it, and all the comments correcting me are going to help boost the video, so I'm just going to roll with it. Anyways, the Lost Chao in this level is very similar to Wild Canyon, where we have to destroy some boxes and then go into a painting that leads to another room. And in that room is a statue that leads to another room with the Chao. And we're going to glitch out of bounds the same way that Knuckles did, but first we're going to kill these two robots, so I have to hear the turtle go every 2 seconds. We use that same pause buffer technique to get Rouge behind this statue, and from there we can glide out of bounds into the Lost Chao room. It's actually kind of interesting just how similar these two levels are. What's also interesting is Sand Ocean is the next level, and it's one of the only 2 levels that doesn't have a Mystic Melody statue to reach the Lost Chao. We simply glide to these platforms on a side path and then jump our way across after shooting down some boxes to clear a path. So I guess this one's just a freebie. Headquarters is next, and I need to sincerely apologize to all of my fans. In the last Rouge level, I forgot to use her Dommy Mommy secret multiplayer outfit. I promise I will fix that for the remainder of this challenge. For this one, we need to play the melody in the center room, which will bring us to the room of the Chao. But if we try to grab him, this weight will drop and block him. So we have to dig into this painting, which leads to another room, and underneath one of these boxes is a switch that will hold the weight in place. So now we just need to use Rouge to crush each box until we find the switch. God, I wish I was a metal box right now. Now the way to get this one without the Mystic Melody is to clip out of bounds using this box in the starting room. And it looks pretty simple, but it's actually really difficult, and I unironically died to one of these bomb monkeys during the recording of this video. So I am clearly not the greatest Sonic Adventure 2 player. That honor goes to AxlThunder, a speedrunner who has helped me figure out a lot of cool tricks in my previous challenges, and he actually did a run of this level without using the Mystic Melody. But remember, he's a speedrunner, so he doesn't use the Dommy Mommy Rouge skin because it probably saves some time because she's more aerodynamic without her bat boobies bouncing around. But regardless, I have to give a big shout out to him for his gameplay, and another shout out to Quiet Storm, who I think was the one who originally discovered the trick. I might be wrong about that, it's kind of hard to figure this stuff out, but I want to make sure I do my best to credit the right people, because without dedicated glitch hunters and speedrunners, this game would be far less interesting. Lost Colony is next, and unfortunately there are no Eggman wall running tricks on this one. The Lost Chao can be found by jumping onto this hidden elevator, and then playing the Mystic Melody to spawn some more platforms. This takes us to a short side path that leads us to the Lost Chao. If we progress normally, the next room will take us up this big elevator, so if we can get out of bounds, we should simply be able to fly back to the Lost Chao. The only problem here is there's no out of bounds clip I could find on this version of the game, but just like in Meteor Herd, if we use the Dreamcast version, these invisible walls are simply gone, and we can easily fly out of bounds to around where the previous area was and get to the Lost Chao. In hindsight, I guess I should have just used an emulator to play the Dreamcast version of the game for this challenge, but I'm not about to re-record this entire video. Also, emulators are illegal. The ethical way to play old video games is to pay $175 to some guy on eBay who made the listing from his car because he couldn't even wait till he got home from the garage sale where he probably found this game for $5 and then haggled some grandma down to 25 cents because she didn't know any better. Weapons Bed is next, and the Lost Chao can be found by using the melody to spawn a portal, which takes us right to him. We can actually see this small area from earlier in the level, but it's walled off pretty good. To get in there, we'll have to get a running start and pause buffer jump and hover from there from the area before. Once we're here, we can't jump over these boxes, but we can just barely stand on the edges, and if we carefully jump to the back corners, we can pause buffer jump over the lights in the corner and then make it inside with no Mystic Melody required. Security Hall is next, and this one's going to be another freebie because again, the Mystic Melody is not required here. There is a statue in the room with the Lost Chao, but it just spawns rings, I'm guessing for the 100 ring mission. But to get to the Lost Chao, we only need to use the treasure scope to reveal an invisible spring, which simply bounces us up to the Lost Chao. In fact, if we want to be extra epic gamers, we don't even need the treasure scope for this. We can simply do a screw kick from on top of these two boxes, and that will give us just enough height to grab the platform and climb up. So either way, this level is another freebie. White Jungle is next, and we find our Lost Chao by backtracking after rolling under this wall and bouncing on a spring. Here we'll find the statue which spawns platforms that will lead us to these vines, which takes us to the Lost Chao. But Shadow is the ultimate life form, and we don't need a Mystic Melody. We can simply jump up on this little stump and then spin dash jump up the small incline to make it across to the vine. There we proceed as normal and grab our Lost Chao. Skyrail is next, and our Lost Chao can be found by using the melody to spawn some rings, which will get us around this mountain. There we find a series of propeller springs which you can use to climb to the top of the mountain and reach the Lost Chao. Skipping this Mystic Melody statue is tricky here. We'll need to slowly walk off this ledge and then charge a spin dash at just the right time so we can release it at an angle that will launch ourselves up the mountain. The timing is tricky, but once we get it, we can easily dash all the way to the top and then grab our Lost Chao. Next up is everybody's favorite level in the game, Mad Space. Once again, we're going to experience some deja vu as this level is very identical to Knuckles' Meteor Herd. We'll find the statue on the platform on top of the arc, which leads to a series of containers at the end where we'll find our Lost Chao. And we again can access these containers from the outside, but there's no way to clip into them unless, yet again, we are playing on the Dreamcast version, where that same clip that Knuckles uses works here. I swear, these are like the exact same level. And another shout out to Irregular for posting this video showing off the glitches. Next up is Cosmic Wall. The Lost Chao can be found pretty early into the level by detouring onto a side path and then playing the Mystic Melody, which will spawn a spring that takes us to a vertical path, where at the end of that we'll find the Lost Chao inside this pyramid. Now, thanks to the low gravity and vertical design of this level, we can easily progress further ahead and then simply hover back onto this higher path without ever needing that spring. And we didn't even need to run up any walls this time. Final Chase is the final dark side level to this challenge, so there's a lot of pressure here. The Lost Chao is found at the end of the level by playing the Mystic Melody, which will spawn a trail of rings and a platform, leading to this very long vertical pipe, and at the top of that pipe is the Lost Chao. Well, I mean, I died there because I decided to full send it, but trust me, he's up there. This platform is very far away, so we're definitely not jumping there, and it's so separated from the rest of the level that there's no way to get over here from any other point in the level. It's looking really hopeless, and this sadly might actually be what kills the run. is what I would say if I was a fake gamer. Yeah, you thought we weren't gonna do it, but there is a way. We can use this railing to give us just enough height to make it to the spring on the side of the platform. The timing is very difficult, but after several attempts, we got it. Once we hit the spring, we can use it to land on top of the pulley that brought us up here. And with that extra height that gives us, now we can spin dash and jump and make it to the platform. Now all we have to do is make it to the top of this gravity cylinder, and see? I told you that Lost Chao is up here. With Hero and Dark Story done, all that's left is the final level of the game, Cannon's Core. The Lost Chao on this one is a multi-step process, starting with Eggman's part. We'll have to fly across this room after the checkpoint and go through the door on the other side. There we'll find a Mystic Melody statue, which if we use it, it first appears to just spawn a green bubble shield, but then during Rouge's part, it actually opens up a door where she can play her Mystic Melody, and that not only spawns another shield, but it creates platforms that Knuckles can use during his section, which again leads to another statue. That gives him an electric bubble shield for some reason. I guess he doesn't get a green one. And then during Sonic's part of the level, it spawns these rings that allow him to ring dash up to the higher platform and get the Lost Chao. Except I'm an idiot and I picked the wrong mission when recording this, so instead of a Lost Chao, it's an extra life. But you know, this is where the Chao would be, and I really didn't feel like playing this level over again. And you know what? This Lost Chao mission is actually kind of cute. I like that they use teamwork to get the Lost Chao because it fits with the theme of the level. Although I don't know why Tails was excluded from this party. He didn't get a Mystic Melody statue for some reason.
No, not you, Seamus.
Ah, poo.
So how do we get the Lost Chao on this one without any of these Mystic Melodies? Well, it's actually pretty easy. We can use a trick with Sonic to freeze time permanently by spin dashing through this time stop switch, and getting far enough away from it that it will actually unload before the countdown timer starts. This causes time to freeze permanently, which means that we can walk on the water slide like normal. And if we can walk, we can spin dash. And luckily, there's a ramp here. We can use this as a ramp to spin dash jump one final time to get to the Lost Chao without needing any Mystic Melodies. And with that, gamers, the challenge is officially over, and the answer is yes, we absolutely can save every Lost Chao without ever needing to use the Mystic Melody, which is perfect because I have another mod that lets us sell Chao for rings in the Chao Garden. If you want to check out that video, you can do so by clicking here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to subscribe, like, and leave a comment to help boost the video so it'll reach all the real gamers on YouTube. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, stay epic, gamers.